Okay, we're starting our 15 OneNotes. This is going to be graphs and charts. So if you look at number 1, we are given a frequency table, which we just practiced those in the last video. And this is a number of students and their favorite color of M&M. I like to know the total number of students, so I'm going to go ahead and add those up, and that does come out to be 20 students. So we're going to talk about other ways to display this data. One is what's called a pictograph. And in this case, we do need some kind of a picture. So I'm going to usually give you what I want you to use. So we're going to use a little circle with an M in it for M&M, and that is going to represent 2 students. All right, so for yellow, we know 2 students picked yellow. That means we need 1 circle with an M in it. Now green had 7, so 1 circle with an M, that's 2 students. Another circle, that's 4 students. Another circle, that's 6 students. But now I need 1 more. So what I do is I cut that in half, and I only show half of the circle. All right, so for red, there's 8 students, and so each circle represents 2. So I would need a total of 4 circles. All right, blue is 2, so 1 circle represents 2 students. Brown is just 1, so once again I want half of a circle, and I'm going to put half my M in there. All right, so that's basically how a pictograph works. You use a picture to represent a certain number of people. Now next we're going to look at a pie chart. So the pie chart's a little more complicated because it's proportional. If half the students like a certain color, we need half the circle to represent that. If it's a fourth, then we need a fourth of the circle. So we need to do some percentages here. So let's start with yellow. So we had 2 students choose yellow. So that would be 2 out of 20. So if I do 2 out of 20, that comes out to be 0.1, and if you change that to a percentage, that is 10%. So if we repeat that with each color, green is going to be 7 out of 20. If you put that in your calculator, you get 0.35, which is 35%. Okay, red was our most popular color. We had 8 out of 20. That comes out to be 0.4. or 40%. Blue, we had 2 out of 20. And that's going to be exactly the same as yellow. It comes out 0.1, so 10%. And finally, brown. We only had 1 out of 20, so that comes out 0.05 in your calculator, so that's 5%. Now, one thing I need to do to check this is if I add all of these together, it should be 100%. All right, so now I want to think about my circle. So if I had 50%, I would want, let's see if I can do this. I would want exactly half of my circle. I kind of missed a little bit, but you get the idea. All right, let me try that again. Yeah, it's better. All right, so that would be 50%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with red. I like to start with the biggest percent. It's 40%, so I want it to be a little bit less than half. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this. Oops. All right, let me get this together. All right, so I'm going to go to here, and I want it a little less than half. So I'm going to go about right here. So I'm going to call that red and say that is 40%. All right, so I've got that one done. Next, I'm going to look at green. Okay, I'm going to do this on the other side, but I want it to be a little bit smaller than the 40. So kind of eyeball where the 40 is. I want to make that a little bit smaller. That looks decent. So it doesn't have to be exact, but the biggest piece of the pie should represent your biggest percentage. Percentages that are the same size should have the same kind of slice of pie. All right, so now let's look at yellow and blue. They're both 10%. So I've got a 10, a 10, and a 5. So I may have to experiment with this. I'm going to try to do 2 pieces that are pretty much the same. So I got 3 pieces that were pretty much the same, which is going to make the brown too big. So I'm going to erase that and try again. Let's try this. Now, oops, that did not go where I wanted it to. All right, that looks a little better. So I'm going to take these two pieces here and here are about the same size. So I'm going to make that yellow and blue, and it doesn't matter which one's which. And those are going to be my 10%. Okay, so those do look roughly the same size. This one looks about half the size of the 10%. So that's going to be my brown at 5%. All right, so that's how you make a pie chart. You don't have to be completely perfect, but the biggest percentage has to have the biggest piece, and the smallest percentage has to have the smallest piece. All right, now our last one we're going to do is a bar chart. Okay, so what we have for a bar chart, let me zoom in on this. Through here, we're going to do frequency. So I'm going to label this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this is going to be the number of students. Okay, then across the bottom, I'm going to have my color. I'm going to write this out a little sideways. I'm just writing them the way they show up on the chart. Yellow, green, red, blue, and brown. All right, so when you're making a bar chart, a couple of things. Bars should be equal width. And again, I'm not going to get out the ruler and check this, but it needs to be somewhat close. And on this type, the bars don't touch. We're going to do one in the next video where they do touch. The reason they don't touch is down here, we're working with color. All right, we're not working with numbers, okay? We're working with an attribute that doesn't have numbers, so we want to keep those separated. All right, so remember that yellow had 2 people that liked yellow. So I'm going to take my bar for yellow, and I'm trying to go up to that 2 mark. All right, so that looks pretty good. Green was 7. Ooh, where's 7? Let me come up here. So when you're doing this by hand, it kind of helps to have a ruler. And then I'm going to try to come straight down. And I want these to be more or less the same width. And that looks decently good. All right, so I'll keep that one. Red is 8. So I find I'm looking for my 8, and I'm kind of coming across like this. All right, so we go there. And then I want to try to make it about the same width as the others. That looks pretty decent. I'm going to go back and erase that dotted line. All right, so blue was 2, so it should be the same height as the yellow and approximately the same width. All right, so that looks pretty good. Brown is just 1, so that's going to be pretty equal to the 1 if you go across, and they should be approximately the same width. Now, if you want, you can color these in. You don't necessarily have to. It looks a little prettier if they're colored in. All right, and this is what we call a bar chart. So the idea is we can read across if we take a different color. So if we want to know how many blue, we look across and we can see that that's 2. My brown may be a little bit high. I can look across on the brown and see that that's 1. All right, so just a nice visual way to organize your data.